I'm outside this Victorian delight from 1863, the Metropolitan line station here at Baker Street, and this is where we're starting a new series because it is from 1863 and I'm calling it either Decades or Station Through the Decades. I've realised I can pick one station that was introduced as a new station to the London Underground, to the Tube, from each decade, from the 1860s through to the modern day, and it's a brand new series that I'm starting here today now, and the obvious place to start is of course at the wonder that is Baker Street.
We have to start the decades in the 1860s, specifically in the year 1863, as on the 10th of January that year, that's when the first London Underground Railway opened, the Metropolitan Railway. There were 7 stations in total, with Baker Street being just one of them. Note how Great Portland Street first opened as Portland Road, what you now know as Euston Square was originally Gower Street, and even Farringdon was known as Farringdon Street, located slightly to the south of the modern-day station. But Baker Street has always been Baker Street.
So at Baker Street there's also the Bakerloo line platforms and the Jubilee line platforms and the other Metropolitan line platforms, but predominantly I'm going to look at here the original 1863 Metropolitan Railway platforms because it was one of the first underground stations to be built.
When the Underground was first built here, it was to Brunel's broad gauge of 7 feet and a quarter inches. And that's because, yes, steam trains were first used on the Underground. Back in 2013, when the London Underground celebrated their 150th birthday, there were some special trips on the Ep.1 steam train. And rather than ride on it, not because I couldn't get a ticket, you understand, I was on the platform at Baker Street to get footage of it passing through. This is probably the closest thing you'll be able to get to imagine what it would have been like catching a train here back in the 1860s. There were vents on the platform back then to allow steam out, and they're still here, but today they're filled in and house lights instead to add to the splendid atmosphere on the platforms. And on the platforms I went for a walk, because I love how Baker Street has still got small corridors, pokey passageways with old colourful tiles in, and you can unexpectedly find yourself in a deserted passageway even though you're at a really busy Zone 1 station.
It's just my favourite part of Baker Street Station because it's always quiet, there's never anybody here. Come to the western end of platforms 5 and 6 to discover the secret overbridge that connects the 2 platforms together. It's just splendid.
Seriously, it feels like there's lots of little pokey corridors everywhere around this station. Here's another one that I like to go down.
And walking down there brings you out to this sort of a bit of the station. Over here, there's a fabulous poster for Chiltern Court.
Chiltern Court is the building on top of Baker Street Station that was constructed by the Metropolitan Railway Company in the 1920s by the company's architect Charles W. Clark and was sold as a luxury development primarily to rich people. The restaurant on the ground floor is still there today. It's just now a pub, the Metropolitan Bar, which you can go in. But the entrance to Chiltern Court is still there around the side, complete with some blue plaques about former residents, which, sorry, distraction from the station for a moment, just reminds me that across the street from Baker Street is London's best blue plaque, where someone has stuck this, a pretend blue plaque, at the bottom of a postbox in tribute to the cartoon series Danger Mouse. Back inside the station, and here's a quick tip when it comes to going to the toilet here.
So you can see here, this train has poured in on the platform, but because you've got the junction down there, where trains from, say, the Wembley branch are coming in, sometimes trains sit here and wait. So the favourite game I like to play is that if you're in the front carriage or the second carriage, it's totally possible to get off that eastbound train, and then behind me over here is actually the gents' toilets, and you can get off the train, nip into the loo, go to the loo, come back, get on the same train, off from the same seat, all within 60 seconds, and carry on your journey on the same train.
So Baker Street was for many years the flagship station for the Metropolitan Railway, and actually maybe still is easily the most impressive station on the Metropolitan line today. Maybe the whole tube? In the ticket hall area there are these coffered ceilings, painted in maroon and light cream, as they would have been in the 1920s. In fact, a whole bunch of other heritage features are here, restored in the ticket hall area, which you may not have noticed if you've never looked for them. There's even this one outside as well, saying luggage, which I quite like. At this point on the walkway, where you can look down on the Victorian platforms, there's a memorial in honour of the Metropolitan Railway workers who were killed in the First World War, alongside a red-coloured Transport Heritage plaque too, celebrating Baker Street's heritage features. And if you're making a connection to the Jubilee or Bakerloo line from the Victorian part of the station, it's done by these escalators here, which I just quite like, in this large circular area, which always feels like a weird place to walk through compared to some of the pokey corridors in the rest of the station. And on the walls, there are these tiles, as there are on the deep-level tube platforms too, featuring Sherlock Holmes and his pipe, which leads to another fun thing you can do when arriving on a Bakerloo line train. Can you line up your camera and take a photo of a no smoking sign inside the train alongside Sherlock on the platform?
So arguably the most splendid station on the whole of the London Underground. If you've never spent any time here just having a look round, why not come here and do that? That is Baker Street from 1863, part of this new Tube Stations Decade series. This was the 1860s, next time will be 1870s, 1880s and so on, right up until the 2020s. Thanks very much, thanks for watching, press subscribe, see you in the next video.